can make the language blush. Aye, said the painter. It's an original for sure, but have you no made her nose a little too short? Laughter at this, for the nose takes off from the vicinity of one distorted cheekbone and heads for the jawline. But Maribel smiled. She has a taste for serious painting, by which I mean painting that does more than coat a canvas with pretty colours and surface details. I always said you'd immortalise me. Do me in my retirement, it will. You like it? It's me to the life. She held it up. I confess that I was pleased with it, even seeing it out in the world, which is always a big test of a painting, especially one seen in the insalubrious light and worse air of the Europa. A little rectangle of darkest blue-purple, with big, fat, fleshy sweeps of white, pink, green and brown paint, laid across it to make a map of her features, the flesh dissolved by energy and taking flight of her bones. "You're on the house today," she said, and she poured me a glass of bubbly, woefully adulterated, of course, but the bubbles were reminiscent. I lifted the glass, toasted Maribel, took a sip, and said, "I need to go to France. I hear that they have bread without sawdust, unrationed eggs, real cakes, recognizable meat. I'm sick of ration cards, and I want to get reacquainted with cuisine." "What's stopping you?" she asked, for she knew about my recent sale. "Nan," I said. But even as I spoke, I had an irresistible image of the boat train, and of Nan sitting beside me with a hamper for lunch. Arnold would have to come, too, because deep in the Blitz he'd promised me Monte Carlo post-war. Now the war was over, and we'd done celebrating and were sick of austerity. With his money and what I'd made off the paintings, I could close the studio, pack away the pictures, and make a run for the sun, food, and gambling. "You are an ever-present source of inspiration, Maribel," I said, and headed for the door. A week later, it was settled that we were to be off. A travelling party of yours truly, painter and bon vivant, Nan, my old nanny, mostly blind now, but game for anything that will please me without sending us to the poorhouse, as she puts it, and Arnold, friend and lover, an older businessman and alderman, leaving his family to squire me and Nan around La Belle France. That's how it is with Arnold. He's ultra-respectable, but with a taste for escape, and a yen for his shadow side, which is where I come in. He was eager for the trip right away. "A solemn promise," he'd admitted, referring to Monte Carlo. "That should perhaps be an unsolemn promise." "Dear boy, you're right. We cannot be solemn in France." He asked if my passport was up to date and set about acquiring the tickets. Nan, on the other hand, was initially reluctant. "Full of foreigners," she said, which was, from one point of view, indubitable. "And the loos will be filthy," she added. "The loos will be filthy, I grant you that. But the food, Nan, the food will be divine. You'd think folk who could manage a souffle could manage to clean WCs. And you'd think people with clean WCs would have fine soufflés." Nan made a face. She taught me to be logical, but doesn't always like it when I am. "If you're set against it, you could maybe stay with Bella," I said. "Bella is her great friend, a fellow nanny whom she always describes as perfect. That may be so, but although they have tea together at least once a week, her last stay with Bella was not a success. To be honest, Nan, who was the absolute ideal for me, is nonetheless very far from being the conventional item. Both she and Bella can ignore that over tea, but not in mutual residence." "Well," she said, as if it was a huge concession, which it probably was, "I do want you to have a good time. We'll make the best of it, dear boy." "Of course we will," and I gave her a hug.